My name's Rich Harrington, and welcome to this episode of Understanding Adobe Photoshop. Today, we're going to combine two things that I love, blending modes with filters. And the cool thing here is by combining the two, your filter collection is significantly expanded. Now, I see a lot of folks who rush out and buy all sorts of third-party filters. There's some great ones out there, but before you buy new filters, make sure you actually know how to use the filters you already own. So, let's try this technique out. You can open up any image, and what I want you to do is before you apply a filter, right-click and convert the layer into a smart object. Now, once we've done that, we can rename it. And the benefit here is that there's a copy of the original pixel data inside that layer. What it means is we can work non-destructively. So let's apply a filter. I'm going to choose Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, which is a natural blur. And notice it's a terribly high value. I'll click OK, go about my business, and suddenly I go, what was I thinking? I have no idea what that picture is. Well, we can click on the Gaussian blur and actually back that off because it's a smart filter. Now, I'm still going to leave it with the healthy blur here because I'm going to do a little pro mist effect. Click OK. And to the right of the Gaussian blur there, you see a little double arrow. If you click that, the blending modes actually come up. And this allows you to go ahead and choose things like multiply, where you can back things off and blend those together. So here we have a nice little look. Let's toggle that off and on, without, with. Using the blending mode there, a blurred copy of the image, we get a nice richening of the color, and some of the noise and other texture areas are toned down just a little bit, giving it a smoothing of the skin, a nice look. Now, this works on any filter. For example, let's try Filter, Stylize, Glowing Edges. Now, I jokingly refer to this filter as the Velvet Elvis painting filter, black velvet painting. It gives you sort of a negative image over black, and by default, it's not that good. But we could tweak this here, and we could start to combine. I'm going to make some nice thick edges, and let's make them real bright and smooth that out. That looks okay. And back that off. That looks all right. And I'm going to click to add a new filter, and we'll put that on as water paper. And nice long fiber, tone it down a bit. There we go, a little less contrast. Click OK, and it's applied. And at this point, it looks terrible. But notice we can actually double click on that blending and change it. So I'll drop it to screen mode and back the opacity off, and it looks OK. Sort of giving it a painterly texture, looking like it was printed on a vinyl texture sign. Maybe I want to get rid of that texture, no big deal. I could just double click on Filter Gallery and say, you know what? Get rid of that water paper. I don't need it. Select it, click the trash icon, it goes away. There's the glowing edges. Let's back that edge off just a little bit. Click OK. And double click it and say, let's try Color Dodge. And now we have more of an illustration look. Notice how those colored strokes are sort of tracing the image. The dark area dropped out, but those bright, vivid strokes are left behind. We sort of have a traced effect that looks a little bit like a cartoon. And you could use this all the time with other filters. For example, filter, brush strokes, angled strokes. We'll go ahead and get some nice strokes in there. Pull that in. That looks good. Nice and sharp. It applies to the image, and we could just click that and change its mode. And I'm going to go to Overlay, or let's try something a little gentler, Soft Light. That looks good. All sorts of other ones. There's Screen. We could back the opacity down a little bit, giving us that look of an illustration. And that's pretty good. Let's change the stacking order. I'll put that stroke after the glowing edges, and notice how the picture redraws. Plus, you can modify these at any time. Up here is a layer mask, so I like the whole look except the eye is basically disappearing. Well, if I click on that layer mask, I can grab my paintbrush. Let's just get the normal brush tool there, and we'll get a paint with black, and we'll just paint the eye right back in. There we go. And if there's any other detail, like at the tip of the nose here, just a little bit of that back in, we could paint it in. And there you have it. So with the smart objects are smart filters and, of course, blending modes and masks, two technologies we've already explored on the show and are great options to give you more precise control. For Understanding Adobe Photoshop, my name's Rich Harrington.